Well, this is Baruch Fleischman, and there's a beautiful song here. Still I just found another song here by the Kabbalistic Village, which is we did Driving in the Desert before, and now this is a song called Freedom. So we'll see. Just keep looking around for things with a little kedusha to them. So actually, I was flagged by YouTube for apparently copyright infringement, so I'm not sure that if I'm going to have to be able to, I don't know how I'm going to handle these songs, but I'll figure it out, God willing. Let's go back to where we were with Rabbi Yaakov Kronenberg, who's in the middle of a proof, most of which is delivered to us from a tremendous scholar from the Middle Ages called Rabbi Abraham Bar Chia. It's also an Arabic name besides. So those are days that were different kinds of days in a different kind of world. Now, I'm just going to pick up where Rabbi Abraham Bar Chia was writing, and we'll go back on to some more of the story of the Jewish people in regards to astrology and how this all works together. So he says, in other words, the astrologers said that the king of Judea had to rule for only 14 years, as was written in his chart. And in the end, despite his chart, he ruled for 28 years. And this is what Rabbi Yaakov Kronenberg wants to teach us. He wants to teach us that we have the power within us to be able to overcome. And after 14 years, Prophet Isaiah came to him and said that that was the end of his rule. But even so, King Hezekiah prayed and prayed until the decree was eventually nullified, and he ruled for an extra 14 years. And this story is an example of how other nations saw that the Jews were able to overcome their planetary influences. Now, Rabbi Abraham is going to bring a second story, which is also from the book of Kings 2 at the beginning of chapter 1. It says like this: And Moab rebelled against Israel after the death of Ahab. And Achaziah, the new king, fell through the balustrade of his upper chamber in Samaria, and he took ill. And he sent messengers, saying to them, Go and inquire of the Baal Zevuv, the god of Ekron, whether I will recover from this illness. He sent messengers to ask the idol if he would survive his illness. So you see that he was an idol worshipper, and an angel of God spoke to Elijah the Tishabi, which is Eliyahu Tishabi, which is Elijah the Tishabi. That is Eliyahu the prophet. Rise and go up to the messengers of Samaria, the king of Achaziah, his messengers, and say to them, Is there no God in Israel that you must go to ask Baal Zevuv? The Zevuv is a fly in Hebrew, the god of Ekron. And therefore, because you did this, so said God, the bed that you come onto, you shall not come down from, for you will surely die. And Elijah went, and the messengers returned to him, Achaziah, and he said to them, What did you return for? And they said to him, A man came to us and said to us, So said the Lord, Is there no God in Israel that you must send to ask Baal Zevuv, the god of Ekron? Therefore the bed you climbed onto you will not come down from, for you will surely die. He, Achaziah, asked them, What is the description of the man who came up to you and said to you these things? And they said to him, A man with hair, leather belt, gathered around over his waist. And he said, That is Elijah the Tishabi. And he, Achaziah, sent a captain and his 50 men to him. And the captain came to him, that is to Elijah, and saw him sitting on the top of a mountain, and said to him, Man of God, the king has spoken, come down. And Elijah responded by saying to the captain of the 50, And if I am a man of God, let's read over here, may fire come down from heaven and consume you and your 50. And the fire came down from heaven, and it consumed him and his 50. And he, Achaziah, went on and set another captain and his 50 men, who said to him, To Elijah, man of God, so said the king, come down. And Elijah responded and said to them, If I am man of God, may a fire come down from heaven and consume you and your 50. And the fire came down from heaven and consumed him and his 50. And he, Achaziah, continued and sent a third captain of 50 to him. Here we go again. Elijah and the third captain of 50 kneeled in front of Elijah and pleaded with him, Man of God, Spare my soul and the souls of these 50 servants of yours. Behold, the fire came down from heaven and consumed the first 2 captains of 50. But now my soul, let it be spared by you. And an angel of God said to Elijah, go down with him. Don't fear him. And he, Elijah, rose and went down to the king. And he spoke to him. So said God, since you sent messengers to ask Baal-Zebub, the god of Ekron, and if there is no God in Israel that one can ask for his words, therefore the bed you climbed up into you shall not come down from, for you will surely die. And he died, just like God's words were spoken by Elijah. So that was the story of Ahaziah, the king of Israel. Let me see if I can get this on the page. Noted for his unrighteousness, who at a certain point went off the path and sent messengers to ask the idols for advice when he fell onto a sickbed. Now Rabbi Avram Bar Chia is going to show you from this that not only are Israel above their Mazal, but sometimes they can ruin their own good Mazal. And Ahaziah lost his Mazal because he went after idolatry, and it was decreed that he was going to die. As Prophet Elijah said, because of what you did, you are never going to come down from your sickbed. So you see that the Jews can mess up their good Mazal sometimes. And not just because not just overcome bad decrees. And the king had not sent them, it would have been decreed on him. Now let's see, we have a little bit more time. We'll look at the bottom of the page. So you see from this story that the whole decree that he would die was because he went to ask the idol worshippers. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been a decree on him to die. And as the astrologers saw, he would have recovered. So you see that there is also the side of Mazal, where a person can mess up, and therefore he would mess up with his fortune, as we see here, and we see it with Rabbi Akiva. Now he's really talking Jewish astrology here. So he says that you need to know, a person needs to know as much as possible who he is, what his potential is, and what he can do. That's what we strive for in life, is to see how we can really get to the panemius of ourselves. So he says, let me go on, because I lost the thought a little bit. When a person can mess up, and therefore he would mess up. So there's also a possibility where you could overcome your bad traits, or your bad Mazal, which is like a bad trait, is a bad Mazal. You could overcome that, but by the same token, you could have a very good Mazal that you trample on. And so it's about that, so where do you go? So we see the story of Rabbi Akiva. He says over there, and also with Rabbi Akiva, who the Chaldeans frightened with the prediction of his daughter dying on her wedding day. When the decree was nullified, he didn't say the Chaldeans lied. Rather, he said charity saves from death. He didn't say that God made a mistake or lied, or that the Chaldeans lie. He only said that the merit of charity can save one from death. His daughter did a good deed on her wedding night, and this saved her from death. Similarly, with the Shmuel and Avlat in the Talmud, when the words of Avlat the Cheshonich were not fulfilled, Rav Shmuel didn't say he is not telling the truth. Rather, he said charity saves from death. Because of this, it is an obligation that everyone who knows the calculation of the seasons and the constellations to calculate them and be able to understand where you are in the world. And if he sees testimony that good things will happen, don't trust as being guaranteed to happen. Rather, guard yourself and be careful, lest the sin will cause you to lose the good things. If you see testimony that isn't good, repent, fall down, and supplicate before you. Now, testimony, he says, what? That you can read what is by understanding the cycles of the universe, of the world around us. By understanding that, it's possible to see where your bad parts are, and you wouldn't like them, but you can repent when you understand that that's you. Fall down and supplicate before God. Maybe it will be proper in his eyes to nullify the decree. So you see from here that the Jews can nullify the planetary decrees on the one hand, can mess up and cause bad decrees upon themselves, and lose the good decrees on the other hand. This is Baruch Fleischman.